Welcome to the Think and Grow Well Show. If you allow your doctor, your insurance, or your Uncle Sam to define healthy, or you blame someone else for the way you feel, or you seek the fountain of youth in a prescription bottle, at a needle tip, or along the scalpel's edge, then be advised. You are about to be offended. You should probably leave now.
Anybody can just think and feel better? That's scary. I mean, thoughts aren't regulated by the feds, and no drug company has a patent on them. So thinking thoughts must not be very safe or effective.
If you love feeling frisky and having fun, take responsibility for your own vitality, and want freedom to enjoy epic experiences with folks you love, welcome aboard and prepare to be blown away. The Think and Grow Well Show starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Lori Barr.
I'm Dr. Lori Barr. This is Think and Grow Well. And today we're looking at the question that sometimes we ask ourselves, or we may ask somebody else, when a behavior is uncomfortable or is unexpected or has consequences that we're not particularly happy with. And that is the following question. Why did I do that? So let's explore a little bit about the reasons why people do the things they do. Let's start with a story. Have you ever been in a relationship and maybe in that relationship you've got some history about an issue? Let's take an extreme case. Let's take somebody who has been unfaithful in a relationship. And maybe the person that they were unfaithful with is still around in the community. And occasionally you run into this person in the same circles. Now, if someone is trying to maintain, say, a marriage, and there is this issue of infidelity that definitely destroys trust in the short term in a relationship, it takes a long time to, in general, it usually takes a pretty long time to build trust back up in a relationship when you've been wounded, burned, whatever you want to call it, feeling less worthy because of a case of infidelity. And if that person then engages in an activity where they put themselves in close proximity to the person that they actually had the affair with, then that would maybe bring up the question in themselves or from their spouse, why did you do that? You know, why would you be the moth close to the flame? And you may ask yourself that. You may ask the other person that. Or, I mean, this is an extreme example, but there's plenty of other things. I mean, you know, just for example, if you're trying to stick to a eating program, an exercise program to assist you in having the body that serves you best, a highly functional body that's pain-free, and then all of a sudden you gorge out on Halloween candy for days and days after Halloween's over, you may ask yourself, why did I do that? So it all comes down to the functions of the mind again. Now remember, the mind, you can think of the mind in two parts, and this is, you know, kind of teleological, so if it doesn't exactly jive with what's in the anatomy book, that's okay. This is a working description of your mind so that you can get your mind working to serve you better. So think of the mind in two parts, the conscious or thinking mind, and what's the job of the thinking mind? To accept, reject, or neglect new ideas that come in, or any idea that comes to mind. And then the second part of the mind is the subconscious mind, the feeling mind. It's responsible for your feelings, your emotions, your stored memories. It cannot reject, it can only accept what's allowed in. Now, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between past, present, future, or between truth and fiction. The conscious mind, different beast entirely. You have mental muscles or intellectual faculties that are not operational until about age 6 and then continue to develop until about age 25. So as your subconscious mind is doing its thing, it tries to, the ultimate job of the mind is to keep you alive, right? To keep you surviving. And survival requires eating, sleeping, sometimes, eating, resting, and rejuvenating, and procreating, right? You have to be able to eat and procreate, have energy and procreate in order to pass on your gene pool to the next generation. To play in the gene pool, you've got to have enough rest to have the energy to play and to procreate. So that's what your whole, your mind is, that's its ultimate goal, is to keep you alive and survive. And basically, it does that through creating habits for you. So you don't have to think about mundane things. So you can be on guard for things that are different that you need to be aware of to avoid danger. That process is the creation of habits. So that process is the creation of habits. And it's the reinforcement of the same idea in the subconscious mind again and again over time. Neurons that fire together wire together, and that lays down a track, just like the Oregon Trail, that can be seen for years to come. Habits are actions that we take unconsciously. We don't have to think about them. And groups of habits form our paradigm. It's the way we interact with the world. Paradigms are our lens through which we observe our world. And the 3 ways to change a paradigm, we've already talked about a little bit before: shock, repetition, and the third is agreement. Why we do the things we do is related to the process of the interaction between our stored subconscious memories and the formation of our paradigms. Memories are those multifaceted vibrations that contain components of all of the mind's languages and kind of stores it as a quantum hologram. And when that memory is recalled to the conscious mind, usually by a current association to something that either looks similar, sounds similar, has a similar meaning, or has a similar smell, we resonate with the same emotions as the stored memory. The more times this memory is raised to the conscious level, the more it becomes ingrained in our thinking pattern and eventually forms our paradigm. The paradigm is the way we see the world. It's the lens through which we experience the world. We look through this perspective, and what we see back is truly a reflection of our habits. So everything, like today, when you look around your life and you see the results you're getting, this is not a reflection of your true potential. This is simply a reflection of the habits that you have enacted up until this point in time. What role does this have to do with regard to health? Events that happen early in life can affect your health because it affects your decision-making as an adult. If you didn't like shots as a child, you may not go to a doctor as an adult. Before the age of 6, your conscious mind doesn't have the mental faculties, it doesn't have the mental muscles, the intellectual faculties to help you accept or reject ideas consciously, actively. Instead, ideas just go straight into your subconscious mind. This means that everything in our lives is touched by our childhood environment and shaped by the people who are around us at that time. We hardly stop to realize what the effect of these things might have on our personalities, our likes, our dislikes, and our habits because we don't understand what actually shapes us when we're very young. So again, a habit is just an unconscious set of actions, like brushing your teeth, that you've done it enough that you don't have to think about it. You can do something else at the same time. And that's really the key to a full understanding of the relationship between stored memories, the formation of your paradigm, and the role the paradigm plays as you experience similar situations in the present day, continuing your journey through life. All influences that shape your subconscious mind are stored as memories. Remember, mind is movement. So your memory is stored as like a multifaceted hologram, and it includes all of the sensory information that you experienced at the time, usually with a vivid visual component, as well as all the emotions you felt. You have the ability to recall this memory to the conscious mind anytime you're reminded of an event. Remind is to bring back to the conscious mind again. So when you remind yourself, you're actually reaching into the subconscious mind and bringing to the level of consciousness a stored memory. When the memory is recalled to the conscious mind, we experience the same emotions and set up the same vibrations stored in the original memory. This vibration affects our actions, and our actions then affect our results. When you ask somebody, why did you do that? And they say, I don't know, that's honestly true. because they don't know what about the stored memory. They didn't seek to have that behavior. It followed, the action followed the habit of the memory, the habitual path. When this particular scenario occurs, you survived by doing this thing. And that's the natural path you will go down unless you form a new path of behavior. A new path of behavior starts with a new idea associated with new sensory experiences to make a new memory with strong emotion that can replace the old habit. The more successes we have with a certain strategy over time, the more likely we're to keep using that same strategy. And eventually those stored memories form our habits, and our habits over time form our paradigms. Our paradigms reflect the way we see the world. What we see outside of ourselves is a direct reflection of the habits and thoughts and feelings that form our attitude and that we've employed over time. That's a paradigm. Paradigms and memories are unique to each individual. Think of how differently you recall an event from another person who was also there and witnessed or experienced the same event. A paradigm can be a set of blinders that will not allow us to see anything but what is in harmony with our way of thinking. There are 3 ways to shift a paradigm. The most dramatic and fast is through shock, and it can be because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between truth and falsehood. It can be a fake shock and still have the same effect if carried out properly. And that's kind of what the field of cognitive therapy or behavioral interventions or like rapid eye movement treatment as an example. A lot of neurolinguistic programming techniques, those employ interventions that are designed to create an interruption and restart in the wiring system. The second method of getting rid of a paradigm or shifting a paradigm is agreement. Shock crashes into the subconscious mind. Agreement slithers in the side door. Agreement is something you see in sales conversations and something that it's good to master. If you can get 3 agreements, chances are you'll get a 4th agreement. Sometimes we use the tactic of agreement on ourselves when we begin to rationalize a position we'd like to hold on to, even though the facts don't justify it. Just think about that. Are there things that you want so badly you rationalize your behavior even though it's not in keeping with the new idea you're trying to implement? Think about this in regard to the changing of the eating patterns and the movement patterns so that you support a healthier body. Are you truly a savvy marketer who works in keeping with your objectives, or are you misaligned with your goals? Because you're really, in that case, marketing to yourself. The third way, and the tried and true way to establish a new pattern, is the diligent cultivation of a new idea. If you want to shift a paradigm without major life trauma or manipulation, recognize how much your paradigm limits purposeful creation and collaboration. You can embrace so much more once you learn to shift your paradigms and notice how paradigms anchor others who still don't know why they make the same mistakes over and over again. The intellectual faculty that you exercise in shifting a paradigm by diligent cultivation of a new idea is the will. And your will is a mental muscle active in your conscious mind. It's the ability to focus on one thought for an extended period of time. The will is most effective when you have something worth fighting for in your life, like your health. Strengthen your will, and you'll notice how much easier it is to leave unuseful paradigms in the past. So why do we do the things we do? Well, in the story of the person who was involved in infidelity, the paradigm around relationships revolved around freedom and fun and passion, very strong emotions and desires. And the risk of the sure relationship was not as painful as the reward of getting close to that emotion again. So that's why they did the thing they did, right? That's why the person becomes the moth to the flame. So the risk actually became invisible in the face of the bright desire. It's just like the moth to the flame. Many things become invisible because of our paradigms. And this is important because if the volume of sensory information that comes into our conscious mind is far more than we can process, And paradigms actually help protect us from sensory overload and mental malfunction. And paradigms are also the most common construction tools we use in creating constructs that help us function in life. So if you can identify your major paradigms, then you can shift your behaviors that are no longer serving you more quickly with the 3 shifts we talked about: shock, agreement, and diligent cultivation of a new idea.
Your next steps.
Your action step is to become more aware of when you are engaging in unconscious behavior that reflects your habits and paradigms. And this will more easily take place if you make that commitment to yourself as one of your top 3 activities for the day. So when you wake up in the morning, just write down, committed to recognizing habits and paradigms. And when you fall into a behavior where you're, knocking yourself upside the head and saying, why did I do that? Stop and think, oh, there's a paradigm at work here. Oh, there's a habit at work here. What is it? And record it. Capture it so that you can think about what is the underlying paradigm on that. This doesn't really take long. Just record the action, your feeling, your response, and your reason. And then you can review this in the evening and decide if that's a paradigm that keeps serving you. I'm Dr. Lori Barr. One idea is all it takes to change your world as we continue on this journey so we all think and grow well.
Psst, be aware. Vitality is an inside job. Trust your spirit, make up your mind, and get your body in gear. There are no second chances.